Yeah, I think marketers are challenged these days because they're tasked with producing very quick results through performance marketing, or they're tasked with building a brand. And what's interesting about SEO is it kind of sits in the middle of those two ideas. So you're competing with performance marketing in terms of how can I get that quick return on my investment, but equally, we all know organic takes some time and SEO takes time to compound, just like building a brand does. And so SEO for us really sits in between those two ideas and really joins them together. So if you're a marketer looking to achieve results over the long term, really you've got to be focusing on how to reduce your CPAs, because that's where organic can really help someone achieve their business objectives. Now, I think there's one thing that every CMO wants when it comes to digital, and that's lower acquisition costs. They are pumping money typically into performance advertising because they get quick returns off it, or they're investing in brand because they've got some notional idea of what that's going to do over the long term. Both are completely legit, but having a proper organic strategy in the middle of those two ideas really helps you both build your brand as well as drive conversions and performance through digital. So one of the big sectors, obviously, that's struggling with CPA is financial services. So we talk with brands all the time about, okay, yes, we need to grow organically, but crucially, what's happening with your cost per acquisition in performance? And typically, CPA is only going up. So the question I ask senior marketers is, okay, well, where is that going to end? Because it's kind of like this crack cocaine. You get addicted to it. Yes, you can pay more and technically you get more, but at what cost? You're not building your brand. You're not building trust with customers. It's a purely transactional relationship, whereas doing SEO properly, looking at it as organic and holistically, is you're building trust, you're engaging with your target audience, and you're letting them find you on their terms, and it's hugely powerful for building a business. So a conversation we have all the time is, what if you turned off all of your performance marketing tomorrow? What would happen to your business? And the reality is, more often than not, is that it would kind of fall over because they're completely reliant on these transactional, paid for customers, and they haven't actually invested in building that brand and crucially tied it all together with a proper organic strategy where customers can come in through the door on their terms, instantly trust your brand and want to convert. I think there's quite a few barriers that stop people from really investing in SEO properly. A lot of it comes down to their understanding of the channel. Like, it is a very complex thing to understand. There's multiple stakeholders, departmental elements to it. It is tricky to sort of get around. I think secondly, it's difficult to measure. Like, we at Builtvisible specifically have a data team to solve that problem for clients because we find it tough to solve as an agency. So I think the measurement piece, making it attributable as performance marketing, really is a big thing that SEO needs to sort of get its head around as a practice. To solve this commerciality issue within SEO, we've done loads of work internally at Builtvisible around using our data team to build out proper modelled forecasts that tie back to revenue, specifically within the SEO channel, which is something not enough people do at all. We've also brought in micro forecasting, which we've found hugely powerful for clients. So the idea is, what value will a change bring is a question always asked by internal dev teams, key stakeholders, and we've put a load of processes together to say, well, actually, if you make this change or this series of changes, we think this is going to be the uplift from that. And then we use that to benchmark and work with the clients on demonstrating success back into their businesses. And it's been so powerful for brands. Yeah, I think SEO is often perceived as a bit of a risk. I think a lot of that comes down to the lack of understanding of the channel and the fact that it does demonstrably take a little bit of time to get going. But I think the conversation to have with people is, firstly, can you accurately forecast and manage expectations on how long will it take to get results? But secondly, flip this round. Like, if you're investing a huge amount in performance and all of a sudden your budgets get cut, what have you got left? It's like building on sand. So we have a lot of conversations with clients around trying to model all of that out, look at the risks, look at the opportunities, and communicate coherently what this should look like over the short, mid, and long term. So there are some brands that are just naturally better set up, I think, to do SEO. And typically these are your newer, your digital first, your startups, because they can kind of engineer those foundations required for really good SEO and organic more widely into their very product, their being. Whereas, these big, for example, like a high street bank, for example, they've got to go unpick all of that legacy tech. They've got to go reverse engineer. It's huge transformation that's required to do this stuff really, really well. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's just harder. And I think that's one of the really interesting things about digital disruption in this day and age. Yeah, so let's say you're not a digital first brand and you're kind of having to reverse engineer this into your organization. I think, again, thinking long term about where you're trying to get to is the key, because everyone else that's coming in, the digital disruptors, they're going to have built the ability to be agile, nimble, lightweight into their very products. Whereas if you've been around a long time, that's probably not the case. You've evolved with digital. So we're probably talking about big transformation projects. When you're talking about big transformation projects, it's all about getting the expertise in to make sure that happens properly, build you the right foundations, because there's a huge opportunity cost of not getting that right, which is that you're sinking budget into trying making it work, fitting a square peg into a round hole, while all of those other disruptors are able to invest in organic, in paid, in brand, because they have that available, because they can build it in from the outset.